Ara used to joke that she wasn't asking life for too much. She didn't need a billionaire husband. She wasn't praying for a 6-bedroom mansion in Lekki or somebody that would fly her to Dubai every other month. She simply wanted a kind man who loved God, who respected her, made her laugh, and hopefully, someone that knew how to use soap and toothpaste. Unfortunately, life decided to test that last part. You see, the very first time Ara met Ola, he was charming, soft-spoken, and hardworking. He was the kind of man that greeted everybody in the compound. He helped the old women to carry whatever items they were holding, and he never forgot birthdays. Their conversations flowed effortlessly, and before long, both families were discussing wedding dates. Now, if there was one tiny sign, it was that Ola always seemed to smell unusual. Not terrible, just unusual. Ara convinced herself that maybe he had come straight from work. Maybe it was Lagos traffic that dealt with him, or maybe the heat was showing him pepper. She ignored it. Love, after all, covers a multitude of things, or so she thought. 3 months after their colorful traditional wedding, reality landed on Ara's head like a bag of cement. Her husband hated bathing. Not disliked though. Hated. The first morning after their honeymoon, Ara woke up very early, humming as she prepared breakfast. She noticed Ola had already dressed for work. "Babe," she smiled. "You don't want to shower before leaving?" Ola looked at her with surprise. "But I bathed yesterday." Ara laughed. "No, I mean today," she said. Ola blinked at her. "I said I bathed yesterday." Ara's smile slowly disappeared. "You mean yesterday? As in yesterday?" "Yes now," Ola said. "But today is a new day." "So?" Ola replied. "So you are supposed to bathe again." Ola shrugged. "My body is still clean, oh." Ara stared at him. She honestly thought that he was joking. But this man was not joking. As the weeks passed, she discovered that bathing wasn't only the battle. Brushing his teeth, it was optional. Using deodorant, it was apparently a foreign concept to him. Changing of his socks every day, according to Ola, only rich people had that luxury. One Saturday morning, Ara entered the bedroom and almost fainted. "Ola, is that the same singlet you've been wearing since Wednesday?" Ola looked up from his phone. "Yes, what is wrong with it?" "Hey, it can stand on its own, oh." Ola burst into laughter while Ara nearly cried. At first, she tried the gentle approach. She would buy expensive body wash, and he would say it smelled too fancy. "I don't want to be smelling like woman, oh." She bought electric toothbrushes. He said the manual one still worked, even though he hardly touched it. She bought different deodorants. He would thank her warmly and place them on touch inside the wardrobe. Weeks turned into months. The biggest problem wasn't just the smell. It was their marriage. Every time Ola tried to cuddle Ara, she would shift away. Whenever he wanted to be romantic, she would suddenly remember that she needed to soak beans, wash curtains, or call her mother. One evening, Ola finally noticed. "Ara." She replied. "Have I offended you?" "No," Ara said. "Then why are you avoiding me these days?" Ara sighed. "Ola, you are my husband. I love you." "I know," said Ola. "But I honestly struggle to stay close to you," said Ara. His smile faded. "What do you mean?" Ara chose her words carefully. "You don't brush regularly? You hardly bathe? You don't wear deodorant? Sometimes your clothes even smell after they've been washed because you wear them for too many days." Ola folded his arms. "So because of ordinary smell you've changed? Ordinary smell?" "Ara, everybody smells," Ola said. "Not like this," said Ara. Instead of reflecting, Ola became defensive. So your friends have been talking about me, eh? No. So you think I'm dirty? She looked straight into his eyes. Ola, I know you are dirty. There was silence. For 3 whole days, they barely spoke to each other. Ara hoped that the conversation would finally make him change. Instead, Ola doubled down. He even began saying things like, real men don't waste water every morning. Do you know if you live abroad, you pay for the water? Ara couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her best friend Kemi almost rolled on the floor laughing after hearing the story. Wait, oh, Kemi said in between laughter. You mean that this man argues with soap? Ara covered her face in embarrassment. I am tired. Have you tried begging him? I have, said Ara. What about shouting, said Kemi. I have shouted. I have cried. I have threatened. I have done everything. He just laughs, said Ara. Kemi became thoughtful. I think this one needs psychology. What do you mean, came Ara's response. If talking is not working, maybe jealousy will, said Kemi. That was when Ara frowned. Kemi. Hear me first, Kemi said. And that was how the craziest idea of Ara's married life was born. That day when Ara got home, she spent the whole night wondering whether her friend Kemi had finally lost her mind. You want me to pretend that I am seeing another man? Kemi, are you trying to end my marriage? Kemi rolled her eyes. Did I say you should actually date somebody else? Use your head. We just need to shake your husband small, said Kemi. Ara folded her arms. So what if my husband chases me out? He won't, Kemi said reassuringly. How are you so sure? Replied Ara. Well, because men are somehow. Tell them to bathe every day, they will argue with you. Let another man start looking in your direction. They'll suddenly remember that they have a wife. Ara laughed despite herself. You and your theories. I'm serious, so said Kemi. For almost 2 weeks, Ara ignored the idea. She continued buying Ola new toiletries, new toothbrushes, new singlets, new boxers, but nothing changed. She even bought them matching bathrobes so as to inspire him to take a bath. Still, there was no change. She even wrote a sweet note and stuck it in the bathroom mirror. Handsome husband, don't forget to brush before work. I love you, the note said. That morning, Ola read the note. He smiled, kissed her on the forehead, and he walked out of the house without brushing. Ara just stood there holding the toothpaste. Father Lord, she whispered. Is this man fighting a spiritual battle with Colgate? Even their neighbors had started noticing. One evening, Mama Bosse from next door called Ara. My daughter, hope everything is okay. Mama Bosse lowered her voice. You know I like your husband, Ara nodded. But sometimes when he passes my veranda, I know before I see him that he's the one because of the smell. Ara nearly disappeared into the ground. That night, she couldn't sleep. The next Saturday, they attended the friend's naming ceremony. Everybody was dressed beautifully. Men and women sprayed tantalizing perfumes. Men were looking sharp, but as soon as Ola entered the hall, one little boy covered his nose dramatically. Mommy, something is smelling, the boy said. Some of the people that heard the little boy were quiet for one awkward second before people continued talking. That moment, Ara wished that the ground would open and swallow her. On their way home, she finally snapped. Ola, did you even bother to bathe today and use a deodorant? I rinsed my face, Ola replied. I'm talking about your body. It wasn't dirty, oh. See, Ara, leave me alone. You started with your complaint, he said. You've been outside since morning. But I didn't roll in the sand, said Ola. Ara gripped the steering wheel. So that's your standard now. Ola replied, my body is my body. Our marriage is also our marriage, came Ara's response. Ola sighed loudly. You've started again with this baiting issue. It is not just baiting, came Ara's angry response. What else? You hardly brush, she replied. I brush, she replied. When? When I remember, said Ola. When exactly do you remember? Ola scratched his head. Maybe 2 or 3 times a week, you know. Ara almost screamed. So why are you screaming? Ola shouted. Do you know that grown adults brush twice every day? Ara replied. He looked genuinely surprised. Every day? She stared at him. Yes, every day. Morning and night. Ola's eyes widened. So people have that kind of time, he said. That moment, Ara didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. Back home, she called Kemi. This man thinks that brushing twice a day is for millionaires. Is this man a pig? Ara complained. Kemi laughed so hard that Ara had to remove the phone from her ear. I told you it is time. It's time for us to begin the operation. What operation? Ara hesitated. See, I don't want to do that. I'll be pretending, she replied. Well, it's very simple, said Kemi. Ara tried to change the topic, but Kemi would not give up. She told her, when you are chatting, smile at your phone. But I'm not chatting with anybody, said Ara. Then open your calculator, replied Kemi. That was when Ara burst into laughter. You are impossible, she said. I'm serious, oh. Men don't know whether you are chatting with somebody or calculating transport fare, said Kemi. For the very first time in weeks, Ara laughed until tears came out of her eyes. Maybe laughter was exactly what she needed. A few days later, she decided to try what Kemi had suggested. It was nothing dramatic, nothing disrespectful, but it was just enough to make Ola curious. First of all, she changed the password on her phone. Not because she had anything to hide, but because Ola knew the password already. That evening, she sat on the sofa, looking at her phone and smiling as if she was chatting with someone. In reality, she was just watching funny cat videos. Ola looked up from the television. What is so funny? What are you laughing at? Ola asked. Oh, nothing, no. She quickly locked her phone. For the first time in months, Ola didn't return his attention to the television immediately. He looked at his wife for a few seconds, and then he turned away. The seed had been planted. The following day, Ara was humming while cooking. She even sprayed one of her perfumes before sitting in the living room. Ola noticed. This one that you're smelling nice, are you going out? Thank you, replied his wife. You've not worn that perfume in a while, oh. I think since our honeymoon. Ola tried to continue the conversation. Well, I just felt like it, said Ara. The next evening, Ara's phone buzzed. It was Kemi. Without thinking, Ara smiled after reading the message. Kemi had simply written, Mission jealous husband is loading. Unfortunately, Ola saw her smiling. Slowly, he put down his phone. Who is making you smile like that, Ara? Ara looked up innocently. Oh, just someone. Someone? Not your sister, not your cousin or Kemi, just someone. Ola didn't say another word. But from that moment, something changed. For the very first time since they got married, the man who never noticed anything started noticing everything. For the next few days, Ola would become a completely different person. Not better, just suspicious. If Ara's phone made the slightest sound, he would rush and ask her, who is that? If she smiled while watching a comedy video, he would ask her, what is so funny? If she dressed nicely to attend church, he would ask her, so who is going to be there that you are dressing this nice? Ara would answer casually every single time, but inside she was trying hard not to laugh. One Wednesday evening, while she was in the kitchen making jollof rice, her phone rang. She deliberately left it on the dining table. Kemi flashed boldly across the screen. Ola looked at the phone. then looked towards the kitchen, then back at the phone. He picked it up. Just as he was about to answer the call ended. Ara walked in, wiped her hands on her apron and picked up the phone. Ola cleared his throat. "So why didn't you answer your call?" "But I was cooking," came the response from Ara. "Well, you can call the person back." "I'll call later," she replied. Ola said again. Ara almost smiled. The plan was definitely working. 2 days later, Kemi came over. The moment Ola left for work, both women burst into laughter. "You should have seen his face yesterday," Ara said. "What happened?" "He actually asked me if I was happy in our marriage." Kemi clapped. "Ha! We are making progress. But I still feel bad." "Don't worry," said Kemi. "We're not trying to hurt him. We're trying to wake him up." Ara nodded. "I just hope that he doesn't misunderstand everything, no." Meanwhile, at work, Ola could not concentrate. His colleague Bayo noticed immediately. "My brother, you've read that same email 4 times. You've been on that same page on your laptop," Bayo said. "Have I?" replied Ola. "Well, I think my wife is changing." "Changing? How?" "I don't know," said Ola. Bayo leaned forward. "Well, you can explain to me. You know I have experience," he smiled. Ola started. First, she smiles at her phone. Then she changed her password. She even bought new perfume. And she has started dressing in this extra sexy way, Ola explained. Bayo stared at him. "My friend, when last did you buy her anything?" "I don't know," said Ola. "So when last did you take her out?" Bayo prodded. Ola scratched his head. "It's been a while. When last did you compliment her?" There was a big silence. Bayo frowned. "When last did you even brush before leaving for work?" Ola looked surprised and shocked at that question. "How do you know about that?" Bayo laughed. "My brother, the whole office knows." Ola's smile disappeared. "What? You think that we don't notice?" "But I brush," Ola tried to argue. Bayo sighed deeply. "Look, Ola, no offense though, but sometimes when we enter the conference room after you, we open the windows." The words hit Ola harder than he expected. For the first time, he wondered if everybody had been quietly enjoying his hygiene all this time. That evening, instead of heading straight to the sitting room, Ola stood in front of the bathroom mirror. He looked at himself. Then he picked up his toothbrush. He squeezed toothpaste into it and brushed for barely 20 seconds. He rinsed, looked in the mirror again. "Dear, I've brushed," he said. He smiled proudly to himself and then he walked out. Ara almost laughed when he came to hug her. There was still a faint smell of toothpaste, but underneath it, the familiar odor was fighting for dominance. Baby steps, she thought. Baby steps. The next morning, there was another surprise. As Ara was folding clothes, she heard water running. Not for 1 minute, not 2, but for 5 whole minutes. She froze. "Ola, are you bathing?" she asked. "Yes, now." Ara almost danced into the bathroom, but she held herself. When Ola came out wrapped in a towel, she sniffed the air dramatically. It smelled faintly of soap. Actual soap. "My God," Ara said. "What?" Ola asked. "Nothing, no." She quickly looked away before he noticed her smiling. Unfortunately, the miracle lasted exactly 1 day. The following morning, Ola returned to his old ways. "I bathed yesterday. I'm not bathing today again. Please leave me alone," he said. Ara nearly threw her sponge at him. That afternoon, Kemi called. "So, any update?" she asked. "He bathed once." "Only once?" "Yes. Then he retired from bathing again." Both women laughed until they could not breathe. Kemi suddenly became serious. I think we need to increase the pressure, she said. Has he ever seen you receive flowers? No, I'm already scared, said Ara. I don't want him to think I'm cheating. They are just flowers, Kemi replied. There's no harm in getting flowers from a friend, so if he asks you, tell him that you got the flowers from a friend. Kemi, you are dangerous, so said Ara. I know. Both women laughed and they ended the call. On Saturday, Ara stopped by a small gift shop on her way back from the market, and she got herself some flowers. It was just enough to brighten the living room. When she got home, she placed the flowers in a vase. Ola noticed immediately. Where did this come from? He asked. Ara looked up casually. Oh, she paused for a second. They are from a friend. Ola's eyes narrowed. What friend? Ara smiled faintly. Oh, just a friend, she replied. That night, Ola did not sleep well. He turned from side to side and he kept wondering who his wife's mystery friend was. Why had Ara suddenly become so cheerful? Why did she smell nice all the time? And why had she stopped begging him to take his bath? For the very first time since they got married, Ola began to fear something that he had never considered before. Maybe, just maybe, he was about to lose the woman who had patiently loved him through every excuse, every argument, and every unpleasant smell. For the first time in his life, the thought of losing her scared him more than soap had ever scared him. That night, sleep refused to visit Ola. He lay on one side of the bed staring at the ceiling while Ara slept peacefully beside him. Or at least she pretended to. Every few minutes, he would steal a glance at her. She looked happy. Too happy. The kind of happiness she hadn't shown in months. Who is this friend? This friend that is sending her flowers and always calling her, Ola wondered. The next morning at work, Ola was unusually quiet. He didn't even try to crack any jokes during the lunch break. After work closed that day, instead of rushing home, Ola stopped at a supermarket. He stood in the personal care aisle looking completely lost. There were rows of soap, body washes, toothbrushes, toothpaste, deodorant, mouthwash, body spray, face wash. He scratched his head. A young sales attendant walked over with a smile. Good evening, sir. Can I help you? She asked. I smiled awkwardly. I hope you won't laugh at me, he replied. She chuckled. He looked around to make sure no one was listening when he said to her, I've never really paid attention to these personal care things. So I need help because I want to start taking better care of myself, Ola said. The attendant nodded encouragingly. He looked at the basket in his hand before saying softly, I'm also trying to become a better husband. The attendant's smile grew even wider. Okay, let's start with the basics, she said. For the next 20 minutes, she patiently explained everything. Deodorants that he would need that were suitable for men, body soaps that were good for men, the importance of some of the body washes, and how they would help elevate his hygiene. Ola listened carefully, asking questions that made the attendant struggle not to laugh. So you mean to tell me people actually brush at night too? He asked the attendant. Yes, sir, said the girl. Every night? Every single night, the attendant replied. Ola scratched his head. I've really been living somehow then. By the time he left the supermarket, the shopping basket was full. His heart felt heavy, but at the same time, he was hopeful. For the first time, he wasn't changing because he was afraid of losing Ara. He was changing because he finally understood that loving someone also means making an effort to take care of yourself and to make life pleasant for the person that you share it with. As he drove home, he whispered to himself, no more excuses. Men can also be clean. And for once, he meant it. The next morning, Ara woke up to a sound she hadn't heard in a very long time. The sound of the shower. She sat up in bed. This can't be true, she said to herself. The water kept running. Ara quietly walked towards the bathroom and she smiled to herself. And she heard Ola humming as he took his bath. A few minutes later, Ola stepped out with a towel around his neck, smelling faintly of soap. Ara looked up nervously at him. "What is it?" Ola asked. Ara shook her head. "Nothing." "Well, you've been looking at me somehow," Ola continued. "I've just noticed something," said Ara. Ola smiled awkwardly. "I hope it's something good that you've noticed." And Ara nodded her head. That morning, she noticed something else. Ola brushed his teeth before breakfast. Not because she reminded him, not because she left a note. He simply did it. She said nothing. She wanted to see if it would last. 1 day became 3 days. 3 days became a week. Then 2 weeks. Soon, Ola was bathing every morning and night and brushing morning and night. It became part of his routine. He changed into clean clothes daily. He sprayed deodorant before leaving for work, and he even started carrying a small pack of mint gum in his bag. At work, Bayo couldn't stop laughing. "My brother, you've really changed though." Ola looked up from his desk. "What is it again, Bayo?" he asked. Bayo sniffed the air dramatically. "You smell fresh." The other colleagues joined in. "Whoever kidnapped the old Ola, please don't return him," Bayo said. Everybody laughed. Even Ola laughed. "You people should have told me earlier," he said. "We tried. We just didn't know how," Bayo replied. One Friday evening, as Ola walked into the office, one of the cleaners looked around dramatically. "Ah, today we won't need to open any windows, so..." The whole office burst into laughter. But instead of feeling embarrassed, Ola laughed louder than everyone else. "I deserve that one," he said. When he got home that evening, he found Ara arranging flowers on the dining table. The same flowers that had started all the trouble. He stood behind her quietly. "Ara, can we talk?" She nodded and they both sat down. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. Finally, Ola broke the silence. "I'm very sorry, my darling. Forgive me for all the times my hygiene was terrible." Ara looked at him. "I've been thinking about everything you said." Ola continued. "I kept making excuses instead of listening to you. I thought because you loved me, you would just manage me for who I am. I love you. Please forgive me." "I love you too," Ara replied. "But loving someone doesn't mean pretending everything is okay when it isn't." Ola reached for her hand. "Understand that now." "I wasn't rejecting you because I hated you," Ara said. "I know," replied Ola. "I just wanted my husband to take care of himself." Ola squeezed her hand gently. "I promise you that I will take care of myself from now on." "There's also something I need to tell you," Ara said to him. "Well, you know how you were acting jealous because you thought there was another man in my life? There wasn't. As for the flowers, I bought them." "So what about you smiling at your phone?" Ola asked. "I was watching funny videos too." "What about your password?" Ola asked. "I changed it on purpose," replied Ara. Ola blinked several times. "So it was all a plan?" He stared at Ara. "So I almost fought an invisible man." Ara couldn't hold it anymore. She burst into laughter. Ola started laughing too. Soon both of them were laughing so hard that tears rolled down their faces. When the laughter settled, Ola shook his head. "You really stressed me, but I'm glad that you did because now I'm going to be the man that you love." "Well, I'm glad that everything is fine." "I don't even know what was wrong with me," Ola said. "What matters is that you changed," replied his wife. Life slowly returned to their home. Their conversations became lighter. Their laughter became louder. The distance that had once existed between them disappeared. The affection they had both missed found its way back into their lives. One sunny Saturday morning, Ara was preparing breakfast when she heard Ola's cheerful voice from the bathroom. "Ara, what is it?" she replied. "Come here, please." She walked towards the bathroom door. "What happened?" she asked her husband. Ola stepped out proudly, dressed for the day, smelling wonderfully fresh. He stretched out his arms with the confidence of a man who had conquered the impossible. "Come and confirm that I smell like a responsible husband." Ara walked around him dramatically like an inspector. She sniffed one shoulder, then the other, and she nodded seriously. "Approved," she replied. From that day on, Ola never joked about personal hygiene again. He had learned that cleanliness wasn't about impressing strangers. It was about respecting yourself and the people who love you enough to tell you the truth. And as for Ara, she counted herself lucky. Lucky that her little act had opened her husband's eyes instead of destroying their marriage. Because in real life, pretending to have another romantic interest can easily backfire. Thankfully for Ara and Ola, their story ended not with tears or divorce, but with understanding, growth, fresh breath, and a husband who proudly announced his birth as if they were national achievement. And if you happen to pass by their house on any morning, don't be surprised if you hear a familiar voice shouting from the bathroom, "Ara, come and confirm that I smell like a responsible husband." And without missing a beat, Ara would reply from the kitchen, "Don't worry, even the whole compound can testify now." Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more interesting stories like this if you enjoyed watching this story. And I'll see you guys in our next story.